Welcome to Are You Mad at Me? I'm Vickie Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
I think this is episode 50. I think we're doing pretty good. I think the running theme has been Who's Mad at Vickie this week? I think we're pretty consistent.
It's usually nobody.
Oh, that's not true. Have you been listening? Oh, you're one of them people that does a podcast and doesn't listen to podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what's going on
That doesn't sound
here?
like me.
I want to do a little shout out to all the television-based shows, podcast-based television shows, like Marin. There's a brand new show that we love with Kristen Bell called Nobody Wants This. Big fan. I love that.
It's a great show.
Podcasting, I think, is where it's at.
It seems to be these shows that you're talking about, they seem to, the podcasting part of the show seems to be like a small storyline usually.
Yeah, but I like that it's like
it's just a running.
Yeah, it's becoming part of the landscape, and I really like that. I think podcasting is really.
I think it's catching on.
Where it's at.
It's taking off.
I feel like I'm growing a community. I know after last week's episode, I had a few people reach out, and you know who you are, and we are going to visit very soon, hopefully. We're going to be heading out to visit those wonderful folks because these relationships are very, very real, and we're building a community, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these folks face to face and working on some projects together and really getting some stuff going.
Totes.
So yeah, it's been a week. It has been a week. What did we talk about? So where did we leave everybody off last week?
Last week was the recap of Self-Publishing Month.
Yes.
This week...
And my mom was...
And the second half of it was...
My mom was rotting on a table in a funeral home.
Family drama.
My mom was rotting on a table in a funeral home. And so since then, some relatives came through, all of a sudden had money after she'd been there for many days. And the Are You Mad at Me segment this week is now they're mad at me because...
who knows?
Because it took a couple of days to actually get the funeral, because when you leave a person in a funeral home for a really long time, other people die and other people need funerals. And so we were not first in line. And so it took a few days. And so we just came from a wake. So you'll be hearing this on Wednesday. Mom will already be put to rest by then. But it was an interesting unfolding of events and the anger. Like, I understand people are having real big feelings, and some of them are still toddlers at heart, and they have trouble expressing their big girl and big boy feelings and using their words. But it has been a cluster. And cluster, if you're not familiar with that word, it means like a grapes, like a bunch of grapes on a vine, like where they all grow on the one. It's a lot of things happening on probably overtaxing. That's not really what it means. I'm really being really polite, but it was a lot.
I would like to look up the origins of that.
Yeah, it's short for something else, but it's been a lot. But we're going to keep it family friendly. So it's when a lot of vegetables or fruit are on the same vine, and it's really overtaxed, and the vine is about to snap.
So I will say that as hard and as insane as this day to just today has been, like we went to the wake, and I don't know how it works in every place, but here in Newfoundland, there's like usually the wake is the day before the funeral, and there's like visiting hours, a couple hours in the afternoon, a couple hours in the evening, so everybody gets a chance to come and pay their respects, hug the family, see the person that died if that's a possibility, like that sort of thing. So we had the wake today, and very stressful, it's a big, like any wake is a lot, right? And so, but we did have that time between the afternoon and the evening wake to take the boys out for a dinner, like get relax, reset.
We had that like month or so in between when she died and when we actually had the wake too. So that was a lot.
It was 10 days.
I'm sorry, is what you just said different from what I said? Do you see a difference? Because I don't. The whole sunrise on the body over 3 days, or what is it? The body's supposed to see 3 sunrises. That's all gone.
I don't know about any of that, but
anyway. So what, is that what you guys did in North Carolina when somebody passed away?
I remember growing up going to funerals. There would always be a visitation, and I don't remember ever like being one of the planning parts of the family. I'm like, we had like grandparents die and stuff, but I was never like, so I don't know if it was the same setup.
But in a funeral home, like not in a
funeral
home,
yeah.
So my experience, I've been involved in a few. My uncle passed away just after we met, and so I was a big part of that planning, picking out songs, and I did his eulogy. And of course, I was a girl, so I wasn't allowed to be a pallbearer. But I think the last what this for some reason reminded me of a lot was when Joe passed away, when we had a stillborn baby, and we were, what's really weird about it is we were on our own and we were completely by ourselves.
We lived in a different country,
but we had friends who were very supportive.
Yep.
But there was like the same amount of family support that I got today. The same exact people who didn't reach out when we lost a baby for different reasons. Some of them thought he didn't matter. Some of them thought it didn't count. Some of them thought I should have had an abortion. Some people were like, oh, just get over it and have another baby already. You're young. And I wasn't. I was like 35. But there was a whole lot of indifference. And I don't know why it can't just be straightforward. Someone died, it's sad. Just let me grieve. Like, let me have that moment. But it's just, there's so many layers of complication of like, just let me be sad. Can you just leave me alone and let me be sad? Because it's like this, there's anger and there's, you didn't do this and you should have done this different. And it's like, as my mother would say, God rest her soul. It's all bad enough. Vickie, it's all bad enough. So what she would have said to me a lot of times in the past few days would have been, it's all bad enough. Focus on what you need to do. Don't worry about the rest of it.
Yeah. And that's what you have done.
Anyone that would make it worse on you, not worth your time.
You have spent the last couple weeks planning a funeral, and the wake happened today, and it was exactly like you've described. I don't know if it was exactly like you pictured it in your head, but it was exactly like I saw it when you were talking about it. Like we had
100% like I mentioned.
All of your mom's latch hook rugs that she made. They're beautiful art, and they were sitting around. There was no flowers, which was perfect.
Yeah.
Because you were very clear. Your mom didn't like flowers. There were no flowers there for the most part.
Can we show the latch hook rugs now?
We can. I mean, I can try to put one on. Yeah.
So I want to share these because my mom figured out how to do latch hook rugs completely by herself. And I don't know if this is how people do them, but all these little specks right here, every single little speck here is from a piece of t-shirt. Like she was going to like thrift stores and stuff and collecting the colors of shirts that she wanted. She'd get these big bags of shirts and she would tear these little strips off. And every little bump on here is something that my mom put in by hand. And I know Mom was a person that didn't mind. It's called frogging. She did not mind unraveling a piece if she didn't like how it looked. So I can tell you, like these pieces of grass, I can tell you she did these over and over again because that's just, she was meticulous. And this is without a pattern. This is what I want a tree to look like. This is what I want the ground or the, sunrise, sunset in the background, the clouds. This is one of them. This is a moose. And
for our non-Canadian listeners, this is a moose. It's a large North American mammal.
Can we pull the other ones over too? If you don't mind. I'm putting Josh
I don't know about the big one, but I can get to
We can slide it on the way through. But these are things that my mom taught herself how to do these rugs. And she had them framed. And we had them displayed today instead of flowers. It was her artwork.
You say she had them framed, but I'm thinking she made these frames.
She made the frames.
Yeah, because these are this is your mom's handiwork of making it herself.
So I don't know if this is a particular house that she had in mind, but this is a Christmassy one where there's like a little cottage, which I adore, and there's a little wreath in the window, and there's a Christmas tree decorated outside with lights. And just knowing that my mom put these together.
And I just want to say that I think my favorite part, there's a lot going into this, like you were talking about, but she signed all of them. Yeah. Like when you paint, when a painter does a painting and they put their initials down at the bottom with it.
She knew they were amazing.
Made letters and numbers on top of all the rest of it. You know what's funny
about 2009? I wasn't speaking to her in 2009.
Yeah.
So I was not around when she was making these because I probably have one in my house.
I think you probably were.
I was alive.
No. But I mean, I think that when she was making this, we were in Maine.
You know what? I bet you she was doing rage latch hook.
I don't know about rage, but I bet
the same way I knit and crochet and make things.
This is meditation.
I'm probably in a lot of these stitches.
That's what I mean. This is meditation.
Absolutely.
This is thinking about your life. This is a lot of repetitive stuff. So you're just meditating, and I bet you were there.
I wonder if she knew that they'd end up in my house.
Well.
So, Mom, and there's one here, I don't know if we can fit it in the shot or not, but there's one here that Mom made from memory of her house. So I lived in this house. She lived in this house.
This one's huge.
Yeah. And so back in the day, the house that I spent we spent many years in St. Philip's, this is what the original house looked like when it was just a little tiny house, and the door was in a different place. All this stuff got moved and renovated and all these things. But back in the day when her parents lived in it, and this is where she lived as a child with 9 brothers and sisters. 5, I think the first 5 went through, and then she lived in this house with about 4 or 5 brothers and sisters. But right here is a couple of people, a couple of characters that she put together. This is my grandmother right here, because she liked to wear lots of different skirts. She would wear like layers and skirts and big boots and a little handbag and a bandana. My grandmother loved having her hair wrapped. And then this is a clothesline. And this was not where it was when I was a child. And this fence right here, this was Baird's fence. They owned a bookstore downtown, and they were very, very wealthy. And when my grandfather would come home, you can lay it back down, thank you. When my grandfather would come home on binges, he was in the army for a long time, and he had a bit of a drinking thing. And sometimes he'd come home. Sometimes he would go to St. John's and drink himself into a stupor and come home and put the place up. And my grandmother would go hide in the woods with 3 or 4 small children. And Mom always said that the sound of the wind whistling through the trees just gave her the creeps, because this is what it reminded her of. They were cold, they were scared, and they didn't know what my grandfather... Now, my grandfather was absolutely wonderful to me, but that was in his later years when he calmed
bad parents
down. turn
out to be good grandparents
a
sometimes.
lot of times, yeah. So, but that fence was the next door neighbors, and they were the Baird family, and they would say things like, my grandmother, when they put the fence up, she said, "You'd put a fence around the whole yard or the whole world if you could, wouldn't you?" And Mrs. Baird said, "Nope, just my little piece of property." And they always treated the Hanlon family like they were absolute rubbish. And it's kind of funny how everybody ends up. We were in the graveyard the other day, and they're all buried next to each other. It didn't like they're all in the same dirt now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where we all end up. And but that hook rug that Mom made was a beautiful representation of what that house looked like, and it has gone through many hands now. It's in St. Philip's on Bennett's Road, and you can still go back and you can see it. It's across from Mitchell's Pond, and that house that I spent a lot of years in, Mom spent a lot of years in, and some of them were really, really good memories, and there was a whole lot of memories of terror and tempers flaring and getting beaten. And so you're right. I think those had to be very therapeutic for her to make, and I'm really glad that that they're left behind for us. I don't know if she ever imagined that she'd be gone and that people would be talking about them afterwards. But she's also in the Newfoundland archives, because she used to make fishing baskets based on a pattern that my dad showed her, that his dad showed him, and she would use birch saplings and make a frame, and then she would weave the wood, like the sap, she called them gads, which my grandmother used to get when she'd get mad at any of the kids. She'd say, "Get me the gad," and she would actually make one of the kids go cut a gad and hit them with it. Anyway, also therapeutic. My mom grew up
the South is so much like Newfoundland sometimes.
My mother grew up to make fishing baskets. I should show it on one of the podcasts. It was a picnic basket that she made for me that was absolutely huge. It's about this tall, and it's about a 1.5 feet wide, and it had 2 flaps, a big handle in the middle, and these 2 flaps that lift up, and you could put stuff in. I use it for my sewing materials, but I wonder how therapeutic that was for her to use those saplings that her mom used to use to hit her in the legs, to make baskets out of something beautiful, made art out of some real bad things.
Do you think that your mom, if you asked her, do you think your mom would have ever said that she was an artist?
Never. No.
Because
no, I don't think she would have ever described herself like that.
Making those baskets and fishing baskets and picnic baskets and like the weaving of the gads and stuff, making these latch hook rugs and framing them, like she's proud of that. She made the frames.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're heavy duty frames. Like they're like full on hardware store L brackets screwed into wood. Like those aren't going anywhere. She
respected what she did.
That's folk art that you would see in a museum.
So not only did she make the frame and create the artwork, but she also collected all the cotton
materials
shirts that went into it, all the shades, all the colors, and she also collected all the gads in the woods. She would actually go out in the woods with a knife and cut the gads herself and come back with armloads with her hair in a bandana, and she was very rugged and very, very capable and independent, and
so she was an artist is what I'm getting at.
Like
God,
absolutely.
she was
she also made she made really beautiful sweaters and hats, like for when somebody was having a baby. And she made one for me. I still have it upstairs. And she made me a sweater because everybody was wearing these fisherman sweaters, like with the gray and like the white and red stripe on the bottom. So Mom made me one, but she didn't hear the red stripe part. So I've got a beautiful gray sweater. She always made sweaters that were like a little too snug for me. I didn't like that they would make my hair staticky. So I asked her for a baggy gray sweater, and I have the most beautiful gray sweater upstairs. And when we moved away, I made a hat and mittens to go with it. But she made, so the Nonia downtown and Melendi's, and there was a few places downtown, like heritage shops, that actually carried her sweaters and hats to sell. And then she also made them for just about every kid in the family, I think, got a sweater and a hat. And they were beautiful. And she figured out how to make those little salt and pepper caps with a little bib for a few years. And Mom would find an idea and then do it until she perfected it. So like when she discovered the recipe for lasagna, we ate lasagna. Our house smelled like Parmesan cheese for, weeks and weeks until she got it exactly the way she wanted it. And she'd find a recipe, like when we got a deep fryer, she learned how to make.
I can see your mom having dinner and everybody's loving it. And she's going,
that's not quite right.
It's not quite right.
Yeah.
No.
And then starting fresh.
And she's thinking like, I'll cook the noodles less next time, or I'll do different sauce or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I can see that happening.
So she figured out how to make homemade Timbits, like deep fried donuts, and there was a recipe that came with a deep fryer, and so we had so many donuts. And then she'd make a big batch, and some
a lot
of it was
us died of diabetes.
No, but I remember, when I look back at it, like it was stuff that she did for stress relief and anxiety. It helped her focus her energy, and she had something to concentrate on, and she perfected things. Like she had the best blueberry muffin recipe. I'm sure it's in the house somewhere. I'm sure I'll come across it. But the recipes she had were like, they were comfort foods, and she loved them, and she loved when we made those recipes for her. And then there was a few recipes we brought back from the United States that, well, that's how they has, Mom would say, that's how they has mac and cheese in the States, I suppose. And she loved when we showed her how to make a roux. That was it. She locked in, and she loved it. And it was stuff that she really, anything from the States was fancy. I think that's why she loved you so much. I'm
pretty fancy.
Well, it was some stuff, like I know my dad said one day, he said, please, he was asking us for something, and he asked one of the kids something, and he said, please. And he said, we didn't always talk like that. It's just since Vickie came back from the States, we all says, please, and thank you now. And but it's been an interesting thing to observe, because we lost another, one of Mom's sister-in-laws died yesterday. I had no idea until I was standing in front of my mom's body tonight.
Open casket.
Yep. And there was a person standing next to me. It's like, oh yeah, her sister. Like, so that's, I think, 6 that have gone in the past year and a half in our family, brothers and sister, and just from the immediate family.
Those 10 kids that grew up in that little house. There's one left.
So there's 4 of the kids and 2 spouses. So my Uncle Bernard and my Aunt Agnes are gone, and Ron Arch Freeman and Gladys.
In the past year and a half. A lot of funerals. And what I totally don't get is, how do you look? And here's something I realized earlier when I was washing my hands, because that's when all my big ideas come through. When I was growing up, I thought a little too sentimental. Like I'd watch a Christmas movie, or I'd watch an after school special. And I'm like, oh, and I'd feel really bad, and I'd go call a friend I had a fight with, or, I really felt really like I would be crying, and I couldn't bear to hear my mother's voice even crack. If she cried, I was a puddle. I couldn't stand it when Mom would cry. And I just realized just a few minutes ago, before we came down and started the podcast, Mom is the original person that would be sitting there Christmas Eve, moved by the Spirit, and make a phone call. She would be the person that would get Dad together and say, there's a family having a tough time. Let's go buy them a big gift for they're suffering this year. Like I think one year my cousins got away, like they, kind of ran from a domestic violence situation, and like they were out on their own. This woman had young kids, and it was a cousin of ours, and we dropped over to their house with like a PS2 or something, or whatever the system was. It may be a SNES, a SNES, or whatever, Super Nintendo. But I just remember Mom was that person that she was also the toughest, most stubborn. When she was mad, don't bother. But man, when she made up her mind, like, nope, this person deserves a second chance, she was that person that would like just turn over heaven and earth for whatever. And I don't mean to be using these words like, I don't know why I'm tired. You spent all day around your mom's body, and people talking about your mom and looking at pictures of your mom on the slideshow video, and like, it's okay to have all these memories and feelings.
No, just the churchy words. I don't know why I'm heaven and hell and all this. Like, I don't know why those are coming to me, because that's not really, she didn't talk like that and I don't. But it's just, I don't know why it's coming through. I just feel like, and I had a thought too that like, I don't know what's after this. I don't know. But I know if there's a good place, she's in it. And if there's nothing, then I'll see her. Then we'll be in nothing together at some point. Like, we're going to be, I'm like, she's not gone. I don't feel like she's gone. I don't, like, that body that I saw today is no more my mom than, oh my God, like, it's just, it was a body.
Yeah.
There's nothing left of any, there's not a vapor of her left in that body. And so, I don't know, I just feel like that whole tradition of let's display the body and let's gather around it and cry big crocodile tears and like, you're still assholes. Like, you watch this woman take her last breath and you're still sitting in this room glaring at your sister across the room. Like, what is wrong with people? Yeah. How do you watch someone die and not have a moment?
How many people have said to us, like the reverend that's doing the service tomorrow, the people that work at the funeral home, other friends and family. It's funny how many people have said, yeah, this is just what families do when somebody dies. Like, it's probably less typical to not have fights and arguments and people glaring across. Like, that's probably more often the case than not. And it's not that's okay, but it's just like this really big feelings, big emotions, big regrets and guilt. And like, if that's how it's coming out, is I'm going to be shitty to somebody that's still here because I'm upset with something I didn't do or something I didn't say or something I did, So
I just feel like Mom was the epitome of, she knew how to deal with guilt and she knew how to deal with regret. It was do better right now. And that's why I got so many calls on Christmas Eve, or why I got calls from my mother over and over and over. And she was, I think, probably always the person to make up. She also decided when she was mad, and there was no messing with that. But when she decided she was done, that's it. I'm not mad anymore. We'll never mention it again. And I just, like, how do you stand in front of that woman's body and be a jerk? I don't get it. Are you not paying attention? Did you not get anything? So the eulogy tomorrow.
Have you learned nothing? So my eulogy tomorrow, I did plan the funeral. I think she would have really liked it. She would have watched it on live stream because Mom was not a person that went to funerals. You okay, Sparks? But the readings that we picked out are very much, one of them's like the Irish funeral prayer. And the dash,
which I thought was great.
A couple of really nice poems, not religious at all. I think there's going to be some religious sprinklings in there because there's a reverend there and he's going to do his prayers, lovely. And he's a very nice guy, and he's the reverend of the church where Gladys wanted to be buried and is getting buried, and so what we're doing, there's going to be three old classic country songs, 2 secular non-religious poems, and
I think she would have liked it. I think she would have enjoyed watching it, and I'm not going for the whole, let's make everybody cry before the end of the day. It's really like, let's honor her in the way that she would have wanted, and the type of personality she had, and the fact that she was actually, I know people described her so much as stubborn. Like, I actually think she was the most forgiving person I think I've ever met. Certainly more than me, and I'm going to work on it because I don't want to be mad anymore. Like, I'm so tired of carrying anger. It's just,
we have less and less room for that in our lives as we get older. So,
and the amount of love that was shown to us as much as we're just complaining, that's the first 23 minutes I can see the timer
there. I
don't
think this has been complaining at all. I think this has been talking about how great everybody has been and how nice it's been to, you did a wonderful job planning everything and it's been going really great. And the people that are helping out tomorrow in the service are the people that are the most supportive and kind and caring people in your family, and
they were people she loved. She really, really liked the people that are involved in the funeral tomorrow. And I mean, I'm being very presumptuous. I assume she liked me because I'm doing a lot tomorrow. But it really was like, I'm really grateful that Mom was also really good at sarcasm. So I'm going to say this. And you can text me or message me and tell me what you think I mean here. I'm really grateful that nobody interfered with the plans I made. And there wasn't a single opinion offered or hand to help.
Given.
So I had absolute freedom planning the whole thing, which was really great, and I'm really grateful for that. And Mom had these big brown eyes, and man, there was no question on what Mom thought about somebody. If she was having a conversation with someone that she didn't like or didn't care for what they were saying, she'd go. And she could roll her eyes so far back in her head, like, I'll never be able to do it. But there was no question about how she felt, because it was all over her face. And she was actually pretty good she could keep it together, but I think I inherited her ability, like her lack of ability. If you ask me a question, I might tell you what I think. Yeah. There's a pretty good chance I can keep it together. My face might betray me, but if you ask me a question, it's going to be pretty hard for me to not just say
the truth.
Exactly. Not necessarily the truth, but certainly my truth.
Your truth, yeah.
And so it's been a really, like the people that, if you believe in this kind of stuff, the people that my mother sent to me over the last few days has been like gifts.
Let me give you a different perspective if you want it.
Sure.
The people that you have drawn to yourself with the frequency that you're putting out in the past few days has been support and love and encouragement. And
these are people that I love too. It's really funny to see your family of origin ignoring you in a room, or yelling at you, or criticizing how bad the body looked because you, pointing at me, waited too long. Like, oh, that's a weird hug. That's a weird way to say I'm sorry your mom died. Like, you gotta be kidding me. And it was kind of like but the people that would show up immediately after something like that and just wrap me in the biggest, strongest hugs, or say like the most empowering things, like it was like a little bit of salt and then a whole lot of sugar. Or if things were too sweet, it was like a little bit of salt to balance it out. It really was a really beautiful balance. I think she would have loved all the people that showed up, and she would have loved to get to know my friends. There was a lot of people who showed up that have never met her ever, and they just showed up to support us. And so I think there might be something, like, I think we might be getting it right in a lot of ways, because the people that showed up for us are people I really, really love and respect.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And so I'm a little nervous about the funeral tomorrow. I feel right now very detached from the whole thing. I feel I don't know if I'm numb or in shock, but I don't feel like that's my mom. Like it's just not. I mean, we've had a week and a half to kind of adjust to the idea, but this has nothing to do with self-publishing, by the way. This is just our regular weekly.
So we can shift gears if you want. We can get back into the self-publishing world.
We will. I was just thinking about something, how much I didn't want to bring any water down for the podcast tonight.
Why?
So just because the idea, like, I know how many people have said, please hydrate, because everybody's bawling and all that stuff. It was the last thing on my mind. I did not want to drink any water. I don't know if I've been denying it. I've read some places like that people do that to kind of punish themselves in some way, or like whatever, but it was the last thing on my mind. Like, I don't want to drink any water. Self-care on a regular day is a good habit to create, is to put in place, like a good habit to create. Because when you need it, it's even harder to do self-care, and it's when you need it the most. But I think if you have that foundation of journaling, meditating, drinking lots of water, what's the forest bathing, walking, exercising, just walking, just meditating while you're doing the dishes or sweeping the floor or whatever it is you do, folding laundry, like taking that time has definitely saved my life this past few weeks, past 6 weeks, because Mom's been in the hospital for a long time. Not a long time. It was really only a month.
It was a month. That was a long time to be.
It got exhausting. It got really, it was, yeah. So where was I going with that? Just that the self-care stuff is not the first thing, like showering, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth. These are things that will make you feel marginally better, and they are the last thing that you want to do when you're in those times of crisis. And so I want to share that. Jesus just laid that on my heart that I should share that, because it is tough. It's tough to take care of yourself, and it doesn't feel like, oh, I'd love to go for a walk right now. We went for walks this weekend, and it was the last thing. But once I got out there, it took a little bit longer. It usually takes a few minutes for me to kind of go, oh, this was a good idea. It took a little longer to get to that point, but once we did, it was like, I'm so glad we got out and got some fresh air.
The thing we're finding out is, like, when you're thinking about when you're thinking about something that's self-care, the more your brain is like, I do not want to do that thing, the more you need it.
Yeah.
Like it was like, I just don't want to go for a walk. I just want to curl up in bed. I just want to turn the lights off, turn the TV on. Yeah. It's just like, that's when you get your ass outside, just go around the neighborhood, get some fresh air. And then it's like, oh yeah, this was a good idea.
Yeah.
The kids are usually like, you can see it in the kids. They're 11 and 14 and they'll be like, I just don't want to go outside. I don't want to go for a walk, and we'll get them outside. And we're 3 houses down and they're just like, la la la, skipping around, talking and joking. And like, yeah, you obviously needed the fresh air and the exercise.
Yeah. So self-care is hard, and it's better to develop the habit when you don't need it. And then sometimes you can coast a little tiny bit more than you probably would have before.
Yeah.
So how that relates to self-publishing is sharing your stories and writing things down. And that's super important. And the amount of writing I've done in the past week or so, I did write the obituary for my mom, I think the next day or the second day after she passed away, and the eulogy. So I'll tell you that those are both things that, as a writer, it's almost embarrassing how difficult they were. But the obituary kind of came easy.
I think any writer that has dealt with this stuff would say, no, that's obviously a very difficult thing to create.
So imagining that, like, I kind of wrote it as a draft. Like, I'm just going to put in a placeholder. I'm just going to write down all the names of her relatives and all of her sisters and brothers and who's already passed away.
That's a good place to start.
I put Joe Grayson Morgan in there as her, grandson that had predeceased or whatever. And it was just a placeholder. I convinced myself, like, this is just a placeholder. Obviously, I'm going to write the final draft later. And of course, it became the final draft. It just
blossoms into
but it was, but it's like, who are you kidding? This is obviously the obituary. And so I tell you what's weird about it is that when I went to copy and paste the obituary from the website over to the program, I noticed that some names had been removed. This is the level of pettiness that I live with. Someone called, so one of my brothers, who has not been in touch with us whatsoever since my mom passed away. He didn't get in touch when she was sick, whatever. Someone had his kids' names removed, and there's 5 of them. So I found out last night that they were removed. And like, all right, this is where we are.
Well.
So that paranoia in my mind that, like, I was kind of afraid that someone might actually be celebrating that she's gone. Not actually paranoid at all. A little weird, right? That's a little weird.
I mean, I would say like maybe, I don't know if it's celebrating. It's separating yourself from the family.
I was afraid that they would show up to make sure she was dead. That's where that's how bad it actually is for this to be going on the way it is. And I'll tell it I might have already told it on the podcast actually, why that family might be mad at us, and that's okay. But like, we're talking about biographical information here. Like, I'm shocked that the funeral home would even agree to that, because it is just biographical. Or is that the word? Yeah. Those are her grandkids. Like, okay, no problem. Kind of hard to. Anyway, moving along.
So
when I sat down to write, sorry, you have something?
No.
When I sat down to write the eulogy, a lot of feelings, a lot of big feelings, and imagining reading it and all those things. And I wrote a song about my uncle who passed away last year, how he didn't have a eulogy, and it was kind of heartbreaking because he was a really, really wonderful person. And his funeral was kind of cold, kind of boilerplate. Nobody got up to say a kind word about him, and the people who were his pallbearers were all people that couldn't stand him, but they were, for a bunch of different reasons. It was the exact same people that caused trouble at mom's thing today, who put that funeral together, and there was a whole lot of spite involved, and we don't want this, and we don't want this person, and don't let this person come to the hospital.
Anger, like from a place of anger. Yeah.
And so the pallbearers, instead of inviting people who, like Josh, for example, who was actually really nice to my uncle and loved him, and Josh was not invited to be a pallbearer. So the people that were carrying my uncle were like kind of people that couldn't stand him in real life. Mm-hmm. It was kind of hard. So in this past year, when I did the songwriter circle with Joel Hines, I wrote a song for my uncle called "He Deserved a Eulogy," and they liked it in the room. So that's going on the next album. So when I sat down to write the eulogy for Mom, it was there was a lot of anger, and like it was had a little talk to a friend for a few hours, and she kind of got me on the straight, kind of got my head straight and stuff. And so I wrote a eulogy. I think there's some funny parts in it. I think she would have liked it. It's not really long. The minister said sometimes if they go too long, it gets exhausting for the people and for the reader. And so I kept it brief. I think there's some real good points in there, and what I wanted to say to the people who have gathered, to thank them and And also say, wake the F up. Because if you loved my mom, not to be preachy, but if you loved my mom, if you learned anything from her life, it's that get over yourself and stop being jerks to each other, because that's not how she lived. And if you want to honor my mom, I think it's to give people a chance, to just give people a chance. And there's a time and place. And when you're standing over your mom's body, not the time to be criticizing what we did. It was hurtful, and it hurts a lot. And I guess maybe this is how I'm letting my anger out, is letting it out on the podcast. And so thanks to everybody for letting me vent. And I hope that's not happening in your life. But for whatever reason, I could just be tired. Or there's someone that's listening that's going, that sounds like my family. And maybe you feel a little bit more normal about your family, because this is normal. There are absolutely wonderful families out there who don't have this stuff, and they're the anomaly.
Yeah.
That's not the normal thing.
Exception to the rule.
That's the exception. It is exceptionally wonderful if your family can get along and be sad together and take care of each other when something bad happens. Like, that's the exceptional thing. It's not the normal thing. And so I think we need to just to spread a little bit of normalizing how abnormal we all are, because I think that's kind of how it goes. I mean, is it okay to talk about your dad's funeral?
I'm pretty sure we've talked about it on the podcast.
I mean, I'm sorry that we weren't there. Your family was up in Maine while you were down dealing with all that face to face. And, people have reconciled since then. A lot of people have reached out since then, to check on you and want to be in your life and apologize and all that kind of stuff. But at the time, it comes out sideways. Like, it's okay to just grieve and be sad when someone passes away. That was wonderful, especially like your dad. And they probably met now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, if there's anything after this life, like if there's like some astral plane where they can all like, just be together, or like they're just these beams of light now, or they're just beams of energy, but like, isn't that crazy that my mom might be hanging out with my grandfather, and maybe she met Joe, and maybe she met Ron Hines, and maybe she met John Prine? Like, what if she can get together with John Lennon? Like, what if she's with like the most amazing songwriters of all time? Like, what if my mom can actually help me write songs now? Right?
There you go.
Doesn't that... It blows my mind that there's that energy of like, when Joe passed away, I went to a grief support group, and there was a lady in there who had been practicing. Her name was Nicole, and she had been practicing mediumship. And she said, anybody can do it. And like, I mean, scientifically, are you really channeling somebody that has passed away? No. Are you thinking about them and bringing them into the room and thinking about them in such a loving way that you can guess what they'd say to you? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So to imagine, like, there's a what's the guy's name? There's a book called I'll think of it later. But he talks about how to like have a mastermind group of all the people that you really respect, and that's a great way to like work on your creative projects and stuff. Is to imagine what Albert Einstein would say, and what I hope he's a good guy. I hope he's not a jerk or anything. But like imagining what would Elvis say if he was sitting here, and if you had dinner with 5 people that have passed away, or Jesus, what would Jesus say if he was here? And there's a whole lot of people think they can channel what Jesus would say. So like, you get what I'm saying. So what's wrong with somebody saying, I wonder what my mother would say?
I think that, okay, here's a crazy thing.
Okay. I love this.
Maybe you're not channeling a spirit from another realm or whatever, but maybe somebody like your mom being gone, you can channel your version of her without any kind of restraints of like, well, she's not really dead. She's just living in her house right now. So she's not actually giving me these, but your brain kind of opens up to the possibility, because she's not alive anymore. She could be anywhere. She could be here. She could be in another, you know what I mean? So it's like, even worst case scenario, like you said, it's just your own ideas of what that person, but you're more free to come up with that on your own when they're not around anymore. Cause it's like, oh yeah, maybe that's a possibility now. Like maybe, so I think that's a really nice thing. That's a nice idea
Well, I think there's also like, you can bring like love that you felt for somebody and create a cake with it. Like it's remember a recipe that they used. And then the other side of that is, would you channel somebody that hated you? Like if somebody went to their death, hating your guts, like you wouldn't even bother to imagine what that person's going to say in this room about you. But when you talk about somebody, like this is the whole thing about creative energy and storytelling and writing books. that bring these people back. Like when you honor people, they're in the room. Like when I talk about my grandfather, like when I talked about, when he was coming home drunk and stuff, could you feel him in the room? He's not here, obviously, but could you feel like how scary it was for that little girl to be in that woods? Like, can you imagine what
That's
it was
what I
like?
mean. It's like it's easier to channel that stuff because when I say it's easier
creating,
you're
creating
it in your imagination.
And when you express it, you're creating it in that room. So that person, like
it's
my
just like
grandfather,
what Stephen King talked about with creating stories, like
with the red table.
He wrote it down and thought of it and wrote it down 30, 40 years ago, and now you're reading it and it's like, oh, now it's in my imagination.
Like it's time travel.
And maybe it doesn't look exactly the same as he pictured it, but I'm creating something just like it in my head.
I don't know if he talked about a red table on writing or if that's just the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith. But he talked about a table. He described if I say there's a table in a room and you're seeing it, like it kind of transcends time. So I think that's kind of a cool.
I don't know if this is completely related, but there was a clip of a movie I saw years ago. It was back in like settler times in the 1700s, 1600s or whatever. And there was this tribe that didn't have written language. They just had spoken language. So there was this priest that was there like, on a mission kind of thing. And he had another priest there with him, and one of the native people whispered something in the guy's ear, and he wrote it down, passed it over to the other guy, and the other guy read it. And he was like, witchcraft. You know what I mean? This is like, it was like the concept of like written language to transfer something from your brain to their brain without saying it was like, you know what I mean? Like you picture like telepathy or something, right?
So I love that you said this might not be related. And it's 100% related because it's on the same frequency. And that's what brought it in. And so I'm really like enjoying this whole idea of we're not really gone. You can't kill energy. You can't destroy energy. It still exists. So all the ideas that Mom had, like when she would tell...
Yeah, the creative expression that she had for these latch hook rugs, where did it go? Right? You know what I mean? Like it's not gone. Like is it? Like is that energy that she had to make a thing that was like, that's so foreign to me to do what she did to create that. And like, you know what I mean? That energy, is it gone? Is it just...
That's a good question. Yeah. Where is it? And so I think writing your stories down and transcending time and bringing people back to life through good stories and sometimes through bad stories. And so like that, for that woman, for that little girl that was out in the woods with her mom hiding from her dad, what kind of a life did that little girl dream of? And what did she manifest in her life? Like, it's so ironic.
Before her adult life started, you mean? Like, what was she
imagining? She was manifesting the life
Yeah.
that she was about to walk into. And then when she met my dad and she had kids and all these things and like saw glimmers of the same kind of behavior. But then she also created all this beauty where we were safe with her. And she made, like, she would get on the floor and play with us with our dolls and with our Legos and with our things.
You create because of her like, she wasn't not necessarily, she wasn't passing down musical abilities, but like some of the creation that make, you knit, you crochet, you've made clothes, like you've done these things that your mom did before you. And it's like, you had an example there of somebody that would...
I think there was a spark of like going to my aunt's house and we'd play music. Like everybody would get around and drink and smoke and play music all night. And I was not allowed to touch my dad's guitar, but I was allowed to touch my aunt's guitar. And I'd walk around in her high heels and I wanted to be just like her. And there was a spark. And when Christmas came around that year, Santa brought me a guitar. So those are the things that Mom didn't play guitar, but she certainly made it possible for me.
She fostered that.
I remember one year Santa Claus brought me a set of knitting needles and 3 balls of yarn. And I was blown away. I don't remember what I asked for that year, but I remember I had a little brother and he was kind of taking the spotlight. Like he was a couple years old and everybody was all about the baby. And there's a picture of me opening the bag and there's this look of joy, opening the gift. And there's this look on my face of like, how did Santa know that I wanted to knit? Like I got my own knitting needles and it was like, that was energy. That was someone creating an environment for this little girl to grow up and give me tools that later on would help me with the most stressful times in my life where I could knit to keep my hands busy. Or learn to crochet. Like, she didn't crochet very much. She made lots of but the whole idea of creating the life that you want and manifesting what you want. And like, even when something bad is happening, you're manifesting something better. Like, that's just how it works. Like, you're, without even meaning to, you're asking for better when in bad times. So it's going to get better. Things are going to improve, but just having the patience sometimes and trusting that it's working out is in the moment is pretty difficult.
Big time.
But I would imagine that the heartache over the last few days has created a whole lot of good stuff for my children. Like, their lives are going to be better for what we created today. And even if it was the conversations of standing around with friends in moments of grace, talking about the musical I'm working on, or the fiction novel that I'm working on, or the things that I'm going to get back to when the dust settles, like, because it wasn't just constant doom and gloom. There was actually, like, someone said, so what are you going to do after this? And I was like, oh, wow, thank you for asking that. And so there was a lot of creative, my best friend from kindergarten, Renee, was there, and her husband passed away a few years back. It was very, very tragic. And she said, what if we got together and started playing some fiddle every now and then? She said she hasn't had her fiddle out since her little girl was a baby, and that was 18 years ago. And I said, oh my God, do you know that when we were in grade 4 and Rebecca Perry came to our school and I showed her around and she was taking fiddle and you were taking fiddle and I lost my best friend? And she was like, oh my God. But like, I've never said that to her. Yeah. There was another lady there who was the first person who ever hired me to do anything. She hired me to babysit her little girl, Sam, who I'm still one of my best friends. But I babysat her when she was a little baby, and Joanne paid me to babysit her. And it was like the first time I had ever been paid for work. And it was very foreign at the time because I was living with my dad, who didn't believe women should work or get an education. So Joanne was like, I don't care what your dad thinks. And she paid me, and then she drove me to Sobeys Square Mall and gave me a chance to shop. And she was like, you earn this money, you should enjoy spending it. And I was like, wait, you can enjoy spending money? Like, you can enjoy earning money? You can actually, like, it was a weirdly strange concept. And I know, like, that was a thing that I don't want to give my mom, glowing credit for every single good thing in my life, because she's not a saint, pretty close to it. A lot of patience of a saint for sure. But like, I want to give her a lot of credit for those things because she didn't stop me.
Yeah.
She allowed a lot of things in my life that she couldn't provide for me, but she allowed me enough room to go do those things. And so, like, as much as I'm crediting like my student council president and vice president in high school for creating an environment where I could go be on, committees, and I could be on the whatever, and I could be on the yearbook, and I could be on the newspaper, and I could go to dances and all that stuff. Like, they created that environment. So it's a little overkill for me to go, oh my God, you guys made it so great in high school. They were kind of just doing high school things, right? But for me, you never know the impact you're going to have when you do something like that. Like, for the regular kids probably that had rich families and, great lives at home, they probably didn't care too much about the little, dress up days and the theme days and stuff like that. But for me, I got to be a part of a big community. And so that's had a profound impact on me. So even the reunion we went to a few months ago had a profound impact because, not that my life is bad now, but it was remembering and seeing all these people that had all these good memories of me. And it was like, what? How? So it was like I want to say transcendent. It was one of those moments of like, oh my God, these are really profound moments. And so from that, at the high school reunion, and then at Nancy's backyard bees with her bee boxes, like, these are things that have loaned themselves to us to lead to the next thing. Yeah. And it's really beautiful that things are lining up. And I think some of it comes from these bad experiences where you're going, oh, I wish this was, I want something better. And you're manifesting that. That's, you're paving the path. Yeah. So how that relates to self-publishing, because this is a self-publishing podcast, is that we sat around tonight and talked about a lot of books that people are working on. And
we heard a lot of stories.
It was pretty beautiful. Yeah. And I've got a few more, I think, that are going to come from this. And I know with the eulogy song last year, like, I know instead of it coming out sideways with anger and venom and spite and all those things, I know that I'm going to channel 98% of this hurt and love into plays and songs and hats and crochet and dishcloths and probably a lot of sleepless nights binge watching Nateland and Justified and all these other things that, like, but those are, those actually give us a lot of ideas for the shows that we're working on, because the morning that mom took a dip and died later that night, we were at the Women's Film Festival pitching to CBC Atlantic and AMI, and got called away. We had 4 meetings the next day. Obviously, we weren't at those because we were at bedside with my mom on life support. So, but that was a month ago, and so now it's time to get back to that. Sorry, that wasn't a month ago. That was 10 days ago. That was the 23rd of October. The Women's Film Festival was fantastic, and I had an industry pass, and I was ready to okay, mom's going to need an apartment, and we're going to get dad settled, and it's all going to be great, and I'm going to go down and pitch these ideas, and get these, hopefully, some contracts with some broadcasters. And we only did 2 of the 6 meetings, and we got called away, and everything. But maybe that's, who knows? I love the idea. This is why I love going back and looking at the old, why I wanted to start Nate Land from the beginning. Because you get to hear the dreams.
Yeah, the progression.
Yeah. They started that during the pandemic, and then it progresses, and then Dusty joins them, and it's it just has this whole different vibe, and you're hearing these guys we're doing Bridgestone and whatever, and these are big milestones, but you see them develop, and you're getting the inside jokes, and you're a part of it. I love the idea that we're recording what we're doing, and but a year from now, somebody could start this podcast and go, oh my God, she was talking about doing that a year ago, and now she's doing it.
Right.
And Josh is doing that thing, and they're doing the stuff that they talked about. And it's I love that idea of putting it in, capturing a moment in time. And, maybe someone's going to get something out of it one of these days. I don't know. I'm getting something out of it in the moment.
Let's do final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Give me a minute. You go first.
I just think that we have heard so many stories, between family and friends and people that remember your childhood and people that were friends with your mom when she was a kid, and just so many stories. And I think there's that creative energy is, I don't know. It feels like that ether idea of there's just a cloud of energy that could just be pulled from, right? You know what I mean? It's still it's there, it's around us all the time. So
I think we just converted you.
Well, I don't know. I just,
to what? I have no idea.
I don't know where creative ideas come from, and I think that there's, probably a lot more that we don't know. So, create, and if you're telling your own story, or if you're making some inspiration, if you're using that as inspiration to make something brand new, some kind of fiction thing, I think it's cool to hear all these stories that are coming from this bad thing that happened in your life.
So I'm seeing it as. It's probably too soon to say it, but I kind of see it as a positive, because she's not in pain. She's not scared. She's at her absolute best, and she's not bound by all the stuff that worried her. She doesn't need to worry about how the power bill is going to get paid. She doesn't need to worry about where they're going to move. Or
we got to pay our power bill, by the way.
But she's not. That energy is free now, and I feel so much freedom to be I can just think about her anytime I want. I don't need to call her. I don't need to get a car to go visit her. I have access to her anytime I want, which is the ultimate freedom. Yeah. And I also don't need to worry about embarrassing her anymore.
There's that.
So there's that. And it's I don't know. I hope she liked the stuff that I did, and I just feel free now. I really feel, obviously I would have preferred for her to live another 20 years healthy and living the best life, but it didn't seem like that's what was in the cards for her. And so the health problems that she was facing were going to come to a bad end. And so, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Same thing with my grandfather, who died. He had a heart attack and died very, very suddenly when I was about 5 or 6. And I'm kind of, I don't know.
There's always a certain amount of relief that goes with grief. I think that it's this is a terrible thing that happened. It's sad, but there's an amount of relief, whether it's that person was sick or they don't have to deal with these problems anymore. I think there's
a certain amount with my mom. I think there's a certain amount of satisfaction that we had actual genuine moments in the last month where she was very present and focused and said what she wanted to say, and I had the same opportunity with her, and so there was nothing, absolutely nothing left on the table. There was no I really ran out of stuff to tell her. I don't have, and maybe that'll come in a wave of, oh my God, I wish I could tell her this, but I don't feel like you talked about writing about the telepathy and all that stuff. Like just the art of taking a pen and putting it on a piece of paper and writing your thoughts down. Like that's such a profound thing that we get to do. And it's like that freaks me out. Because I started writing years ago with my left hand, but it's like, whether it's right or left hand, like the fact that I write now every single day is like, it's like a little buddy to talk to, and you can say nice things to yourself, and you can say, I wonder what my mom would say, and like you can say, I wonder what Ron Hines would think about this, and sometimes Ron will say stuff back, and it's like, obviously he's not there. I talked
to a guy tonight that his wife has been gone for 5 years, and he writes her letters all the time, and every now and then he takes them out and reads them, and it's like that's how he stays in contact with his wife that's been gone for 5 years, that he was married to for 50 years. So
I listen to Esther Hicks a lot, and she has a whole lot of communication with her. And I mean, is it real? No, obviously not. But does it make you feel better in the moment?
Yeah, exactly.
To imagine what that person would say who loved you so much. Can you imagine what they'd say to you today? Of course you can. That's your imagination. What a gift. So it's not like, obviously it's not real. Obviously, clearly these people are, worm food. They're in the ground. Like they're obviously not there anymore, but their energy and their ideas and their creativity and their love, I think that's the biggest thing. The love does not go away. Hate eventually, I think, fades and you move on. But I think with love, all you need to do is think about somebody that my grandfather was like my biggest fan. He loved me. Me and my cousin Susan, who was doing a reading for us tomorrow, or at the funeral tomorrow. But we were like his little buddies. We were about the same age, and we looked a lot alike. And he used to call us when we were 4 or 5 years old, and like we'd have phone calls, and we're getting calls from my grandfather. And like I just known that I had a thought today on the way to the funeral home, like he's possibly with her right now, or they're in the same.
That's great. Love sticks around.
It
I like
does.
That's a good.
It doesn't. You can't destroy energy, and you can't destroy love, and you can't. No matter what anybody says about the things I did for the funeral or how long she was out there, and all these things are like, you can't touch the love. Like you cannot take away from me how much my mother loved me, and I know the sacrifices she made, and I'm here because of her. In so many ways, I was free to do what I wanted to do. And did she defend me every single time? I mean, do you know what it's like to follow Vickie Morgan around and defend her? It's a full-time job. Like, because, 50 episodes. Are you mad at me? Lots of people are mad at me. I'll be fine. But, she paved the road. And I'm probably going to talk about her a lot more. And I think there's going to be a whole lot of projects that come out of it that honor her in a lot of ways. And so keep writing your stories. It has always driven me insane that people are like, go hug your mom if you got your mom. Like, dudes, not everybody's got a good relationship with their mom. Mother's Day was one of the worst days of the whole year for me, every single year, because there was never quite a hallmark thought for mom. Like, it was always too sappy. Like, no, you're my inspiration. Like, because in real life, people have complicated relationships.
So maybe instead of go hug your mom, it's think of a positive thought. Think about the next.
I just don't think it's about moms. I think it's about surrounding yourself with people who love you and appreciate you, whoever they are. And sometimes it's not your mom. Sometimes moms aren't very nice, and they're flawed human beings like all of us. And I just don't want to put that kind of pressure on anybody. Like, oh, go hug your mom while you still can. Like, I didn't buy into that. And you get it. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Not everybody gets that time with their mom. And so that's why I value writing so much, because if your mom did pass away and you didn't get those opportunities, you can write to her and you can make up what you wish she would say back to you. It's called scripting. And it's like how you kind of reconcile and heal yourself and take care of yourself. And it's through the gift of writing, which I got that from my mom. I've been writing stories. She was writing stories when she was a little girl. And she would write them down in little notebooks and put them in the mailbox. And the mail postmaster told her one day that he loved her stories. And she was a little girl. She was 9 or 10 years old. And so I wish I could get a hold of those now. I wish they existed somewhere. But I'm just going to imagine what she wanted to write. And I'm going to keep writing, and I hope you do too. And so that's our self-publishing podcast. That's why we're number one. Woohoo! Number one in Canada.
That's 50 episodes.
50 episodes. Congratulations. And again, I'm going to say it again, Josh Morgan is amazing. And the past, I could not have done any of this without you. And none of it. It's all, I probably would have figured it out eventually. Yeah. but it's more fun with you.
I agree.
We're having a great time.
I'm very proud of you.
We really are having a really great time with life and with our kids, and the boys have been fantastic. And thank you to everybody. In case I'm a big slobbery mess tomorrow, thank you to everybody that has reached out and sent words of love and encouragement and support and condolences. And it has been very, very difficult and also possible. Like it's been doable, and we've been taking it one day at a time, and that's where we're going to continue doing. And hopefully, as we go forward, hopefully we can turn these stories into more positive, inspired moments and all those things. Because I want to have fun. Like I really want to make sure that I have fun, and that's how we honor Joe too, is we find ways to have fun. Yeah. And so we're just going to put them all in a little pot and say, all right, here's another person on the list, just another person we'll light a candle for, and remember fondly. And thanks for listening, everybody. This is Are You Mad at Me? I'm Vickie Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.